Welcome into the Stardom Fantasy Football Podcast. Week 1 is finally upon us. Games are coming in hot starting Thursday night with the Texans and Chiefs matchups that I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to. Should be a high-scoring affair. I'm joined by Jacob Stevens and Ashton Mitchell, as always. How you guys doing today?
Feeling good. Pumped up. I couldn't be happier, okay? NFL's back. We are back. Can't wait. I'm excited.
I'm getting some R&R right before week 1 games start, so I'm a little sunburnt here at the beach. Excuse my video quality, but I'm ready to go.
That's the way to do it. We will be doing our podcast twice a week going forward. We got some good stuff for you. We're going to be preparing you for the first half of NFL matchups this week today. And then we'll do the second half on our second podcast this week. But we got a lot of good content for you today. We're going to be talking starts of the week, sits of the week. We got a lot of news to go through. And we're excited to do this twice a week schedule now. I know it's going to be a little different for us, but Ashton, I think you planned out your rest and relaxation perfectly for it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Well, we got a lot of news to jump into. So let's go ahead and jump into the news, guys.
News and notes.
So a lot of big news, like I said. We finally got a little bit more of an update on Alvin Kamara. There was some concerns about trade rumors. There was concerns that there was some turmoil between Kamara and the front office there in New Orleans. But apparently the word now is that they're closing in on a big extension with the
Very
Saints.
lucrative.
Right, that's what I heard. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey is the highest paid running back now, but they're saying Kamara is going to be approaching those numbers, should be in that second tier of elite running backs in terms of contract. So if you still have your draft to do, or if you got Kamara, you should be thrilled with this news, and you should draft Kamara and start Kamara with full confidence now. It seems like all of that turmoil might be in the past.
A little bit of a miscommunication is what it sounded like. Did you hear about the whole, what you call it? I got an epidural.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he did it last year too, before the season. So no harm, no foul. About to get that money. I was afraid there. I was because I drafted Kamara in our main league, and I was like kind of terrified. But I'm feeling much better now.
Next piece of news, one that I think Ashton might be a little happy about because he seems to be a big supporter of him based on our draft so far. But Kareem Hunt has signed a 2-year extension with the Cleveland Browns. That could mean a little bit of worry for Nick Chubb. A lot of people are expecting Kareem Hunt to have an even bigger piece of this offense this year, and Chubb to kind of take a step back and maybe not have as big of a percentage on the field as he did last year, and Kareem Hunt to kind of take some of those snaps away. And it seems like, the trend might be going that way with the deal that they got in place with Hunt. But yeah, the next piece of news is I think is huge. DeAndre Hopkins, who, Jacob, I know that you haven't been too high on so far in the offseason, at least compared to what we've seen in years past.
Correct.
Signed a huge 2-year deal, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league on a per-year basis. So obviously the Cardinals believe in him. The Cardinals love what they've seen in the offseason to make him, the highest paid player.
He definitely deserves that money for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's a stud. If you have Hopkins, I'm expecting basically a pretty instant connection with Kyler Murray. I think he's a lot better than Fitz at his age and still leaps and bounds above Christian Kirk. So expect him to be the number one option right off the bat and have a big impact on that Cardinals offense. The next piece of news, which was a little bit of a surprise, and I know, Ashton, you were sad to see him go. Adrian Peterson was let go from the Washington football team and almost immediately signed with the Detroit Lions to make another backfield even more confusing. It was already a confusing backfield with Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift. But now Adrian Peterson has entered the fold. As of today, the depth chart looks like Kerryon Johnson is the number 1, Adrian Peterson is number 2, Ty Johnson is number 3, and DeAndre Swift as number 4, which was a little surprising to me because I thought they were higher up on DeAndre Swift, especially this offseason where they drafted him.
He's missed so many practices.
Yeah,
That's the only reason he's back there. I think if you're taking him in drafts, you're taking him late enough, you're going to hold out, you're going to hold on to him, and he is going to take over that. But Adrian Peterson, he wouldn't sign somewhere if he wasn't getting like a guaranteed like 10, 12 touches a game. So you definitely got to factor that in. I'm kind of staying away from that backfield right now, but it's still, and then it kind of left a interesting, like, I don't know what's happening with the Redskins or the Washington football team. Sorry.
Not that we knew what was happening before.
Never.
Right, exactly. We didn't know before, and then he leaves and he gives some insight onto Antonio Gibson. I don't know if Ashton's ever heard of him, but I definitely drafted him in our dynasty league in front of Ashton on purpose. But they're saying, who did you say they have
JD
ahead of him?
McKissick.
Yeah, which is interesting. So
Yeah, J.D. McKissick's number 1 in the depth chart as of right now.
it's kind of a wait and see, I think, for both of those backfields, and maybe the next one we're about to talk about too.
Yeah, I think those backfields are 2 to avoid for right now, just to see what shakes out there. Maybe someone emerges as kind of that lead ball carrier, but more to be seen. The next big signing, which I think a lot of us were waiting for, it actually happened in the middle of one of our drafts. Leonard Fournette has signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to join kind of that, I don't know
Super
what you
team.
call it. Yeah, sure. A super team of Tom Brady, Gronk, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Now they signed Leonard Fournette to, again, make another backfield extremely confusing. They already have Ronald Jones, who everybody expects to get some carries still. They drafted Keyshawn Vaughn pretty high. And then they brought in the veteran and LaShawn McCoy. So, again, another situation that should be very confusing to start the season. They're saying that Leonard Fournette should have a significant role in week 1, but I don't know, man. I don't think he's had enough time to learn that offense and really get acquainted. So, for me, I'm not starting any of those running backs week 1.
And Ronald Jones is our guy. It was said right after Fournette was signed, but then Fournette's going to have a pretty sizable role in week 1. So it's a coach speak that it's just something you got to wait. I mean, if you drafted Fournette, I wouldn't recommend starting him this week.
Yep, and then the last piece of news, unless you guys have anything else, Raekwon Armstead, who was a good waiver pickup after the Leonard Fournette release, has been put back onto the IR/COVID list for the second time this offseason and is expected to be out a while, is what they said. Azigbo and James Robinson are expected to be the primary ball carriers, with Chris Thompson being the third down back, and should get a lot of work in the receiving duties. But again, the Azigbo and James Robinson I don't think are 2 guys that I'm wanting to start right off the bat, just because, I mean, I haven't seen either one of them produce. Chris Thompson in deeper leagues, I think, could be a nice flex play. They should get a lot of work. They should be down in a lot of games. So I expect Chris Thompson to be at least some sort of benefactor of this news and should get a sizable role in that offense. But unless you guys have any other news you want to add into that, we're going to jump right into the weekly matchups of week 1.
Here we go.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. We got a big primetime showdown Thursday night, expected to be the highest over-under this week, with the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champions. What are you guys expecting for this game? Are you expecting the shootout that Vegas is expecting, or what is y'all's outlook on this game? First game of the NFL season.
From what I'm looking at and what I see happening here is that I don't know. I don't think it's going to be this high scoring, and if it is, it's going to be way in the favor of the Chiefs. I just think they're just such a complete team. Their defense really took a step forward when they got Tyrann Mathieu last year. The Texans are just really kind of falling apart. Brandon Cooks just came up that he's got an injury, so I'm kind of avoiding him. But Will Fuller just really skyrocketed for me, as a flex play, even a wide receiver too. If you don't have any other options, I could definitely see him producing there with Watson. And obviously, you're starting Watson, you're starting Mahomes. Those are kind of the guys I wanted to touch on. What do you got, Ashton?
Yeah, I think it's going to lean towards the Chiefs here. I mean, I really like Deshaun Watson. He's probably a little bit more relaxed since he's gotten his big payday. But
True.
I think Chiefs just have way more talent and weapons on their side of the field there. And like you said, Brandon Cooks being questionable. I'm not high on the rest of their receivers. Will Fuller, Randall Cobb.
What about David Johnson? What do you think he's going to do?
Yeah, I think they're going to run him. I think they're going to run the heck out of him. I just don't know if that's going to be enough to dominate the Chiefs in a season opener. So look for David Johnson to have high numbers, high carries.
You would start him in your lineup?
David Johnson? Yeah, I would.
I think I would too as a flex. I think he's going to be around RB2 of some sort.
I could see a potential opportunity for Kiki Cutie or Kenny Stills to emerge here for week 1 if Brandon Cooks is not going to be able to play, or if he's going to sit out some time or not play his full amount of game time. But I'm not relying on the rest of their core there.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm firing up all of the big options in terms of fantasy relevance for this game. I do think it's going to be a shootout. I think the Texans will end up losing probably about 2 touchdowns, but I think they're going to be airing the ball out, and it's going to be a high-scoring affair either way you look at it. So Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sean Watson. My only concern might be David Johnson, just because I do think the Texans are going to be down most of the game, and they have a better receiving running back in Duke Johnson behind him. So I don't think David Johnson is going to get as many carries as he might in some other games in the future. But I do expect Will Fuller to have a monster game. We've seen him have great games when he is healthy. So we have week 1. We don't have any health concerns with Will Fuller right now. You got Brandon Cooks possibly out. So while you have Will Fuller, he is a good start this week, because I do expect the Texans to be down and Watson to air out some long bombs to him. So, yeah, that might be a sneaky play for you to play Will Fuller this week.
What are you guys expecting out of Edwards-Helaire first game NFL? Where do you think he kind of stacks up? Do you think he's going to be a top 12 running back this week, or kind of fade into that higher upper echelon of like a running back 2, kind of like 13 to 20 this range, or do you think he's going to be up there and they're just going to feed him?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I expect the Chiefs to be leading this game most of the time. I expect all of their options to really get involved and have really good games. So I'm thinking he's probably a back end running back 1 this week for me.
It's his NFL debut, man. It's a big day for him.
Yeah, but rookie running backs, it's a different game.
They're not going to overdo it on him his first game here.
I think he'll get in the end zone this week. First week in the NFL. I think they'll give him a run inside the 5-yard line. He'll find his way into the end zone.
Love it.
All right. So from the highest scoring game according to Las Vegas odds to the lowest scoring game according to Las Vegas odds, the 1 o'clock game for Sunday, we got the New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills. Battle of New York. Are you guys expecting exactly what Vegas is expecting, just kind of see a defensive showdown and some trouble moving the ball? Are you excited about any of these fantasy options with this matchup that they have?
I think the Bills will take it. I don't think it's going to be as big of a defensive play as what they're saying. I think the Bills are going to come in there and show a little bit more aggression on the offensive side of the ball. I think Josh Allen and Stefan Diggs coming in there hot, ready to showboat what they've been working on during the offseason. I'm not too concerned about the Jets. I've been avoiding the Jets all offseason.
So for me, like I have Le'Veon Bell in a couple leagues. So where I'm looking at for him is kind of a flex play, just based on he's going to be. I know he's definitely going to be part of the passing because they're going to be passing. But the Bills, I mean, they've got a good offense, but they're not really super high powered. And the Jets defense isn't awful. They were a pretty good defense last year. I know they lost Jamal Adams, but I'd say Lev Bell is kind of at a flex play. I would not play Darnold. I looked at it last year. He was outside of the top 23 QBs for both games against the Bills. Chris Herndon is on the way back. Kind of excited for him. He kind of had a big rookie breakout of sorts, and then was injured all last year. And I would say I would touch on just the Bills running backs. I'm not excited really for either one of them. I kind of want to see how those roles are going to be carved out. Singletary, they really didn't give him what he needed last year, and they bring in Zach Moss, and I know they're pretty excited about him. They said Singletary was having some fumbling issues and might straight up just lose the starting role to Moss. So. Who else are you looking at here, Stefan, in this matchup that you would start or not start?
Yeah, I do think this is going to be a big defensive showdown. The Jets were actually second in rush defense last year. And I know the Bills really try to focus in on their running game. Even Josh Allen relies on his legs a little bit more than most quarterbacks. So I do think the Jets are going to try to make Josh Allen beat him through the air and beat him with his arm. So I am a little bit worried about that. Both offenses getting moving. Obviously, the Bills are one of the defenses you hate seeing as a matchup for any of your fantasy players. So I'm really trying to avoid any of the Jets players in terms of offense. Obviously, Bell's going to get some volume, but I'm not expecting a big game from him at all. Whereas on the Bills side, maybe you get a long bomb to Stephon Diggs or John Brown, but again, it's not great matchups. I have Josh Allen in one of my leagues, and I'm not super excited about starting him this week because I just don't think it's a great matchup for week one. I mean, if possible, I'm trying to avoid all these players in week one if I have a better option. But if not, I'm not too down on Buffalo. I think I prefer some of these Buffalo guys. I'm okay with rolling out Josh Allen. I'm okay with rolling out a John Brown or Stephon Diggs as a flex play. But I don't want to play Devin Singletary, and I definitely don't want to play Zach Moss week one of his rookie debut. I don't know what that backfield is going to look like yet. But let's go ahead and jump on to our next matchup of Sunday, the 1:00 games. Should be a better game. It should be actually a pretty exciting game. Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings. Vegas is expecting a 45.5 point over/under. Do you guys expect this to be more of a passing game? Do you expect it to be Kirk Cousins v. Aaron Rodgers, airing it out, or what do you guys expect for this game?
I think it's gonna be a running game on both ends. It's kind of how it turned out last year. Aaron Jones was against the Vikings. He was number 2 overall running back and number 4 overall running back against them. And I mean, I know I read something about AJ Dillon. Like he can't beat out Jamal Williams for a starting job, and he's behind him in the depth chart. So I think Aaron Jones is going to be a top 10 running back on the week. Aaron Rodgers, man, I know Stefan probably wants to talk about him, but it's a tough matchup. But it's a division rivalry, so who knows? It really kind of depends on the game script. Like I said, last year they ran the ball a lot. Rodgers finished at QB 19 and QB 28 against the Vikings. So it's kind of how you look there. But I think obviously Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, there's like kind of automatic starts along with Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at comparing quarterbacks here, I think I would have to lean a little bit more towards Aaron Rodgers. I really like Kirk Cousins, but I'm hesitant to pick him up in this game. I think Aaron Rodgers is coming in with a chip on his shoulder, wants to show off that he's still capable to be a mobile quarterback, even in his later age here, and still make plays open up. He's got a healthy Devontae Adams available for him right now. I'm looking for him to kind of crank out the arm a little bit in the second half of the game here. I think you're right. I think it's going to be run dependent for the first half, but I think it's going to open up passing game for the second half when someone takes the lead, and it's going to be a back and forth battle. So, I mean, I'm aiming a little bit more towards Aaron Rodgers and then Aaron Jones here for the running back option. But I do like Dalvin Cook in this game as well. So I think you could start either one at the running back position.
Yep. Yeah, for me, I think we're going to see the Packers actually throwing the ball a little bit more than we expect to start the season. I know last year they relied heavily on the run more than we expected.
I mean, they only ended up 13-3, so
with the new head coach. But like you said, I think Aaron Rodgers was a little disappointed with how that offense looked last year, just based on his talent. And then the disrespect to go and draft a quarterback in the first round, I think is weighing heavily on Aaron Rodgers. So I think you see some audibles at the line where he changes some runs to some passes and tries to get a big game week one. And I think he has a chance to show that. I do think the Vikings are going to rely heavily on the run. Green Bay's pass defense is actually very good. They have two top 10 cornerbacks according to Pro Football Focus in terms of 2019 rankings, and a great pass rush with Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. So I do think they are going to rely heavily on Dalvin Cook to lead the way, especially with Thielen coming off that back surgery in the offseason. So we'll see how it shakes out. I think it will be a close game, but I do like Rodgers here, and I do like Devontae Adams as well as Dalvin Cook.
Is there any other, like Adam Thielen, like what are you guys thinking for him this week? I mean, is he kind of fringe wide receiver one? Where are you guys seeing him playing? Like, obviously, I think you're going to start him no matter what, but where do you kind of see his kind of his floor and his ceiling for this week?
I mean, his upside, his ceiling is, top 10 wide receiver, but I think he has a lower floor this year based off of his last year's performance and his injury. I mean, you're coming off of a back injury with surgery involved. I mean,
right.
that's always a scary situation. Plus, he's in his 30s now.
Are you worried about Justin Jefferson
taking volume away? No. I mean, he had Stephon Diggs last year, and he was still putting up numbers when he was on the field. But I think Justin Jefferson's going to immediately roll into that Stephon Diggs position and
right.
be the number 2 receiver. But I don't think it's going to be an emergent where he's going to come in and just steal a massive amount of targets from Adam Thielen. No. Unless Adam Thielen starts to struggle with injury, then it's going to be an opportunity for him to.
I'm just trying to think of any other options we didn't touch on that people might actually have out there. Which now
I'm normally a huge chaser for Adam Thielen in my drafts, and this year I avoided him in every draft. So, and I'm not saying he can't get it done or he won't get it done. It's just a caution for me to not. As a risk, I didn't want to go after. I didn't want to chase him. So, I thought, with a draft this heavy in wide receivers this year, there were other options that had a lot of potential that, I'd rather put my risk in. So, but I mean, he could be great. We just don't know. Right. We'll have to wait and see. Time will tell. It's one of those situations where we can't predict how his body's going to treat him through the rest of the season with the back concern, but time will tell.
Yep. Yeah, I'll provide a little bit more of my outlook on Adam Thielen a little later in the show. Hint, hint. We'll see which side of the coin he falls on, but yeah, I definitely have a little bit of a take on Adam Thielen that I'll hit on later. The next matchup, one that I'm actually pretty excited about for one team, not so excited about for the other team. The Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Washington football team. I guess that's a way to call them from now on. But Ashton, I'll let you take the lead on this since you are our resident Washington football team fan. What is your outlook for this game? Yeah,
who are you starting on that side?
Emotionally speaking or just logically speaking?
However you want to approach it.
They're kind of two different attacks here. I don't know. It's kind of tricky right now because I'm really thrown off with this depth chart that was leaked with Antonio Gibson being number 2 RB. It makes me think that they're going to use him a lot, but just maybe it's not. Maybe they're going to line him up as a wideout. I don't know. I'm really interested to see what their approach is going to be this week. But I'm a little concerned with Philly, and we can dive into that too here in a little bit because I have some of those marked up as my choices here down the road. But we'll get into that. I don't think they have as many weapons as they were predicting they'd have during the opener. So I'm a little concerned about the offense. A little bit concerned about their receiving option, and I'm a little bit concerned about Carson Wentz being able to hold up. I know I think I'm opposite with you on that here, Stefan, but maybe we could do like a slide bet or something. But I'm not. If Wentz can stay healthy and not show any issues with his body going on, I'm really hype on Washington's front line for the defense. So if they can keep the pressure on Wentz, phenomenal. I think it's going to be a much easier game for Washington, but if they give Wentz an opportunity to step back and have some time behind the offensive line, it's going to be a different story. So
You starting Haskins?
No.
You starting Gibson or running back Roulette in Washington if you have him on your team?
Probably not. I mean, it depends on my lineup. I mean, if I have other options.
So would you say, would it be fair to say that
I'd start
Terry McLaurin is the only person that should be starting on this team
for week
for
one?
Fantasy,
yes.
week one?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up. The Washington Football Club. And so I'll hop in and go on some of these Eagles. Miles Sanders, they say he's going to be fine. He's going to be healthy, which is he's going to be fine. Like that doesn't really kind of give you much comfort as high as he was being drafted in round 1 or 2. But if he is healthy and he's playing, I think he's going to be a little bit hampered by that injury. It might limit his upside a bit when you just kind of have a free for all at the Washington football as a matchup. But I think Deshaun Jackson is somebody that is definitely a streamable flex candidate for week 1. Just because I don't know, I think the Eagles are going to blow out the Washington football team here, and I think Deshaun Jackson's going to be a big part of that. I think he's going to catch a couple deep bombs, kind of like he did last year. Hopefully, not get injured for the rest of the year. But Ashton's right. Carson Wentz his upside's also limited because he doesn't have as many options as they thought. But at the same time, he's still got Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, Deshaun Jackson, Miles Sanders if he's out there and alive and well. So,
but he's already dealt with 2 off-season injuries. He's had a shoulder injury and now a groin injury. I'm just concerned about his.
Yeah, well, they said that a lot of the sitting that he did for that, and they were just being very precautionary. But I guess they did also they did hook old Josh McCown up.
They did. Practice squad, oldest practice squad player.
He gets $12,000 a week to stay at home and just be ready to pick up the phone and go if they need it.
Yeah, for me, I love all the Eagles players here. I mean, 2 of these guys are my starts of the week. We'll get to those later. But look, Deshaun Jackson is a fantastic play if you scooped him up late in your drafts this week. A lot of those receiving options are going to be out of week 1. Alshon Jeffrey and Jalen Reagor. And we saw what Deshaun Jackson did week 1 of last year against this Washington football team. 8 receptions, 154 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, hey, if you have Deshaun Jackson this week, throw him in your flex, throw him in your wide receiver 2. He'll probably produce. And I will remind you that the Washington football team is not great on offense. So I'm not rolling out any of those players. The fact that we're talking Antonio Gibson as one of the main options on this offense, someone who has 33 college carries, should say something to you. But yeah, Scary Terry is probably the only guy that I'm possibly even looking at. Nobody else on this team.
The Eagles secondary sucks, so I think Scary Terry's.
If you
drafted Terry, you got to start him.
I mean, you have to have some concern there as well because they picked up Darius Slay in the offseason, who has been a fantastic quarterback in the NFL for a very long time. I'm not as high on
shadow special
Terry,
maybe.
Yeah, as I was on previous last year when they played the Eagles. So
gotcha.
We'll have to see how that shakes up. But I expect the Eagles to just absolutely blow out the Washington football team. Which should be a big disappointment for their new name change. They should have some higher hopes. Next up on the list, a game that I think will be a little bit more exciting, the resurgent Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Vegas is expecting a 48.5 point over-under for this game. So a higher scoring affair than some of these other games we've talked about. You're expecting the same old Lamar Jackson we saw last year, the MVP, to just come out and light it up again week 1, or what are you expecting for this matchup?
Last year the Browns beat the Ravens in the first matchup. It was a pretty good beating too, but then the Browns lost them in their second matchup, and the Ravens made it very clear who was
the
dominant team.
At that point.
I don't see that that approach changing coming back into this season. I look for high pressure from the Ravens defense on Baker this year. I'm still very concerned with the connection with OBJ and Baker. I know that Jarvis Landry has a strong connection with them. I think if I had to pick two of the receivers to start in week 1 against the Ravens, it'd be Jarvis Landry, not OBJ.
Woo.
Obviously, with the Ravens, I'm happy to start anyone on the Ravens.
Would you start Marquise Hollywood Brown?
Absolutely.
Would he be a flex wide receiver 2 for you?
Oh, wide receiver 2. I think Marquise has opportunity to be an easy wide receiver 1.
I just feel like the Browns. I feel like they have a good defense, but it just never seems to show up unless they're swinging
not good
helmets at
enough.
people's heads.
Yeah, not good enough.
But yeah, I just think Lamar is just clearly he's just an auto start. Mark Ingram, I'd have him in as well. Let's see. I'm not that worried. I think OBJ is gonna. I think this is the year he bounces back as long as he can stay healthy. You know, there was concerns about that. He had the surgery. And then apparently he played through it all last year. I don't really care for Baker in this game against the Ravens last year. He didn't finish. He finished kind of around. He finished 14-16 against the Ravens. There's 12 more QBs to be starting out there, so I'm not really looking at him. I think, I don't know. Nick Chubb kind of scares me with this matchup, and then Hunt. I just don't think they're going to be in a great game script, and then that Hunt's going to be out there for some passing downs. But I'm not worried. I'm not worried about OBJ. A little worried about Chubb. What do you think, Stefan?
What do you guys think about J.K. Dobbins to start? Do you guys think you're ready to throw him in week 1, or are you a little more hesitant to start him? Okay.
I'll wait a week or two.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah,
I want to see that roll. Mark Ingram was so good last year. I don't see why you would do that to that man.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to start the season off taking snaps away from Mark Ingram right off the bat there. I mean,
that would be mean, and they're not a mean organization.
I mean, if they get ahead, substantially.
Maybe, yeah. If they blow them out, yeah, Dobbins might get out there, but I still think it's going to be third quarter, maybe fourth quarter, just garbage time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm expecting a little bit bigger overall for Dobbins week 1. I think Ingram still carries the load, but I think Dobbins will get in and get 10 to 12 carries in this game and show what he's got.
You think he sees the end zone?
I don't know, man.
The Ingram,
any of the Ravens can see the end zone, dude. Like with Lamar Jackson back there, they have to key on Lamar Jackson. So J.K. Dobbins is in there near the end zone, and they have Lamar Jackson running an option. I can see Dobbins getting in. We'll have to see.
What do you think Chubb's going to do? That's what
I am excited for Nick Chubb. Obviously, the Browns went out and got a new head coach in Kevin Stefanski, who is the offensive coordinator for the Vikings, who obviously love to run the ball. So I think you're gonna see a new Browns offense, which I think is gonna be heavy on the run. My only concern is, look, we were also excited for this Browns offense last year. We thought this was going to be some sort of superstar squad.
Super Bowl favorite.
Kind of everybody disappointed except for Nick Chubb and Jarvis Landry. But hopefully they can get it together in round 2, year 2 of this makeup here. Maybe they're a little bit more creative with their offensive play calling. Maybe they give Baker Mayfield a little bit more time to pass the ball, which was a big concern last year. But for me, like, this is not a great matchup to preview this new Browns offense.
Right.
Obviously, they're loaded with talent, like all across the board on offense in terms of skill positions. But I'm not excited about this matchup except for probably Nick Chubb because I think Nick Chubb's always going to get his. So OBJ, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, I'm a little bit more concerned about. Obviously, if you drafted OBJ, you're probably starting him. He's too high of a draft pick not to play him. He's probably your wide receiver 1 or 2. So you have to kind of roll out with him unless you somehow have a better option. Maybe you're in a 10-team league or something like that. We have a better matchup. But for me, I'm probably avoiding them if I can, except for Nick Chubb. And on the Baltimore side, obviously I love all the options. Maybe not so high on Hollywood Brown as you guys are. They have a great secondary with Denzel Ward for the Browns. So I think you're going to see a lot of shadowing for Hollywood Brown, and I'm not so sure about him. Mark Andrews should feast here.
Oh, yeah.
Next up on our list, I don't know what to make of this matchup, but The Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nobody is expecting the Jacksonville Jaguars to be any good this year. They're going to be
traded. They're projected to go 1-15.
Yeah, it looks like they're kind of doing the Miami Dolphins move of last year, where they're just getting rid of people. They're like, this isn't it. This isn't the year for us. So let's get rid of everybody. They got rid of their best defensive piece, and they got rid of arguably their best offensive piece. So we'll have to see what they can do. They're going to be fighting to get into a lot of games and passing the ball a lot. So do you expect them to pass the ball a lot against the Colts? We saw the Colts actually be a pretty decent defense last year. So
I don't think they'll have a choice but
they
to
don't
pass
have
the
a
ball.
choice. Exactly.
I don't know if they'll do it
That's what I was
successfully,
gonna
but
say.
they're going to have to pass the ball a lot. I mean, they're going to be a pass-heavy offense all season long.
Yeah, I'm thinking
by default, not because they choose to be, but they're just going to be down.
correct.
Well, no, but both. I mean, look,
And who
look
are their
at
running backs?
Look at
I
their
mean-
backfield. Yeah, I mean, their backfield's
Chris Thompson, man, he might
giant
might get
mess.
some good
Yeah.
usage out there. He might be lining up.
yeah. If Chris Thompson can stay healthy this year, he could see a lot of high numbers come his way. So
I like Shark Week this week. I'm thinking he's gonna probably be around fringe wide receiver 1, kind of or higher up wide receiver 2, just because the volume's going to be there. No, I mean, and him and Gardner had a great connection last year. But man, I tell you, Rivers, he was almost my start of the week for QBs, because the Jaguars team is just depleted. I think they drafted 8 defensive rookie or 7 or 8 defensive rookies, and they're all starting. So it's just it's going to take some time. Maybe they're good players, but there's first NFL game against Hall of Famer and one of the best offensive lines in the game. I think Mack and Taylor are gonna. I know they're gonna kind of splitting it up, but I think the Colts are gonna start blowing them out, and then Taylor's just gonna. I think they're gonna let him loose, and then I think that's gonna help Taylor for the rest of the season. I think he's just gonna show off what he's got for you, Stefan. But I think Ty. I think people are kind of sleeping on him for this week. I think I've got him.
high on Ty this year.
You what?
I'm high on Ty this year. I like
Good.
him.
They're gonna. I mean, I think the only problem is they might just blow out the Jaguars. So he might only catch 1 touchdown instead of 2. About 80 to 100 yards. I think he's gonna be fine.
Let me ask you another question. You guys are high on the fact that Jacksonville is going to throw the ball a lot. We can all agree that there's not a lot of options in Jacksonville right now, except for DJ Chark, Chris Thompson, it seems like.
Keelan Cole there still?
Yeah, I think he's on the practice squad at this point. They put D.D. Westbrook on the 3rd string. But the rookie wide receiver that a lot of people are kind of forgetting about is
Shenault.
Laviska Shenault. Do you think he could have an impact week 1? He could be the sneaky streamer maybe if you're in a really deep league to kind of roll out there.
So it looks like he's behind Chris Conley as well, and he did have some success last year. So and he's questionable. Chenault's questionable right now. I know he's coming back from a little bit of a minor injury. So I don't think he's going to, maybe not this week, but I think he could, because DJ Shark might get some of that heavier shadowing down the road, and he could open things up for Chenault. But I don't think week 1's kind of no place to kind of test that out on your team.
That's fair. And what about the running back situation there? We talked a little bit about it earlier with them expecting a Zigbo and Robinson. Do you want either of those guys? Are you maybe benching? I mean, putting them on the back end of your roster and seeing what works out there, or what's y'all's take on those 2 guys?
No, I don't. I'm not interested.
I don't want anything to do with it.
Are you interested?
I'd rather fight someone on the
though?
waivers when it happens. If somebody can actually, because a lot of people have already got Chris Thompson. I actually went and got Raquel Armstead, and I already dropped him back. He went back to the IR, so it's. I've actually heard things about James Robinson, but I'm not. It's just I think it's kind of you're able to avoid it right now.
Yep.
If you're in a PPR league and you
Chris Thompson
running out of options, then yes, Chris Thompson could be a definite pickup.
Would you start Chris Thompson this week?
I hope.
I mean,
I wouldn't have to.
I'd rather start him at the beginning of the season.
If you got like a super
second half of the season.
flex, triple flex, deep league, yes. It's like a 14-team league, and
if you picked him up on your draft and you have limited options,
he's been productive before, so we'll see. What do we got next, Stefan?
Next up is the new Las Vegas Raiders at the Carolina Panthers. 47.5 point over under. These defenses were not great last year. So do you expect this to be more of a shootout? Or what kind of production are you guys expecting? Do you expect big games from anybody? Do you expect anybody to kind of disappoint for you?
For me, the Panthers are really bad. So I think their defense is worse off than the Raiders. I think Derek Carr might be a little surprising. I think he could be QB2, kind of higher upside, just against a new young defense and just a whole regime change with the Panthers. Josh Jacobs, obviously, I think he's just going to destroy the Panthers, and he's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to catch a lot of passes, and he's just going to roll all over them, and it's going to be amazing. I'm not looking at Teddy Bridgewater at all. I think he's going to be a QB3 this week. Those are kind of the guys that I'm kind of looking at and hating and liking.
I'm high on Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller in this game for the Raiders, and obviously with the Panthers, CMC is an auto. You got to start him every week.
Yeah, for me, Las Vegas is actually surprisingly a good rush defense last year. I think they finished as the number 6 team overall in terms of rush defense. But CMC is so versatile. Like, he does a lot of his damage through the receiving game anyway. So I do actually expect a little bit of a sneaky good game from Teddy Bridgewater, just from giving some little screen passes, some checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey and just letting him work. Because I do think they're going to load the box and try to just shut him down in terms of running the ball. So I do expect, some decent games from DJ Moore this week. I hate Robbie Anderson. I
got to see what he looks like in this offense.
So I think the 3 guys that, if you're in a super deep league, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, I think Teddy Bridgewater is actually a pretty good start this week. On the Raiders side, I really like a lot of these options. I think Henry Ruggs is actually a pretty good start this week. I think he could see the end zone. They don't have a lot of wide receivers there.
Renfro.
They got Hunter Renfro starting. They have
Tyrell Williams went down to the IR for the year. He's out.
Yeah, so they actually have 2 rookie wide receivers right now, currently listed as their top 2 wide receivers. And I think they're gonna try to shake up this offense and make it a little bit more dynamic this year. So I think you can see some trick plays with Henry Ruggs. He's just super, super fast. He's a Tyreek Hill-like player, where you can see some reverses or some different kind of plays where you see him getting involved, not just deep bombs down the field. So I like Henry Ruggs this week. I like Darren Waller, and Josh Jacobs, like you said, is just going to be an absolute beast this week. Next up on our list, we have a divisional rivalry here early on in the year. Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. We finally got our starter named for Chicago Bears. Mitch Trubisky will be starting week 1. David Montgomery is still questionable, so we don't know what that backfield might look like. We might see a lot of Tariq Cohen. Cordero Patterson might get involved again in the backfield. What's y'all's take on this game? What are you expecting to see here?
It's going to be interesting. That's for sure. I'm surprised Mitch beat out Foles, but I guess he does have somewhat of a rushing ability. But apparently he made a lot of strides over the offseason and just kind of came in as a kind of a brand new QB. But I don't want any part of it. Even against the Lions, I don't feel like their passing defense was great last year. But I like Allen Robinson always. But David Montgomery, dude, I have him on a couple teams. Like I got him as like my 3rd running back, like to start as a flex, and I don't think I'm starting him this week. I've got Will Fuller. I'm going to start over him in a couple leagues, and Tyler Boyd just over David Montgomery just for this first week. It's just too scary. I don't even know if he's going to play. So you're kind of running down to the wire. We'll give some updates on injuries on our Friday show, kind of an in or out, who's going to be playing, who we don't think is going to be able to make it back. But for the Lions, I like Galladay and Stafford, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I see the Lions taking this game with with a pretty easy approach. I think Stafford's going to manage the game very well. I'm really high on Stafford this year. So Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones. I think Marvin Jones, even as a wide receiver too, could put up pretty
Yeah,
great
he
numbers
can catch a
this year.
touchdown at
Yeah,
the drop of a hat.
and he's a high favorite target with Stafford. Great connection there. So I wouldn't hesitate starting Kenny Galladay or Marvin Jones or Matthew Stafford.
You starting any running backs in this, Stefan?
No.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Look, so this is actually a tricky matchup for me. Obviously,
Defense.
obviously the Lions pass offense is what we like so much for them in fantasy. And the Bears defense is very, very good, especially that pass rush. So that kind of works me up a little bit. And on the other side of the ball, the Lions defense, especially the pass defense, is horrendous. They finished last year in terms of pass defense. And
That's
then
not good.
they got rid of Darius Slay on top of that. So, you take your best cornerback on the worst pass defense in the league and get rid of him. They did draft Jeff Okudah in the top 5.
Oh, yeah.
Their number 1 corner, but he is still 3rd on the depth chart with Desmond Trufant being their number 1 right now. So that worries me. I almost made Allen Robinson my start of the week just because I do think that connection with Mitch and going against an absolutely terrible pass defense, I think he's going to be fed. They're just going to get him the ball as much as possible, especially with David Montgomery being questionable.
Yeah.
They're going to have to move the ball in some way. So I think, Allen Robinson could be a really, really good play this week. And he's going to get targets, especially if you're playing at PPR, half PPR. He's going to have a lot of receptions this week. They're going to get him involved in any way possible. And if Montgomery does not play, I think Cordero Patterson could be a good play as well, especially if you need options, if you're really, hurting for a running back. Maybe if you had David Montgomery or something like that, he could be a good play here. And Tariq Cohen, obviously, if you play PPR, he should be involved as well.
You guys excited for any tight ends in this game?
I think TJ Hawkinson might have a breakout game. We saw a couple good games from him last year, but just
the first game of the year.
Really disappointing games for a lot of the season as well. And then he was injured. So I think Hawkinson might have a big year 2. I think he could be a year 2 breakout candidate this year. So we'll have to see what shakes out. This is a tough matchup. Cole Kmet is the rookie tight end for the Bears. He might have a role automatically. We'll have to see what happens there. The next matchup, which I think is going to be an absolute offensive showdown. I think we're going to see a lot of points scored, a lot of really good fantasy options in this game. Seattle Seahawks at the Atlanta Falcons. I think this is arguably going to be the best game of the week. Should be really high scoring. Should be a lot of fun to watch. Who here aren't you excited about? Is there anybody that really wouldn't be a start for you, or are you kind of just starting everybody on this list?
I think you're able to.
You got them. You start them.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a free for all, man. These guys, they're gonna be throwing it all over the place. Defense aren't well. I mean, so Jamal Adams is the Seahawks now, but still, I mean, it's just. I think it's. It's the every other year for Matt Ryan. I'm going to keep talking about that until you guys never forget. And yeah, I mean, I'm starting everybody. Hayden Hurst, Julio, Ridley, Gurley, Ryan. I mean, it's going to be a fun one for sure.
It's going to be an interesting running back battle. And then I'm anxious to see who's going to open up the pass game first and really kind of dominate, because I think it's going to come down to one of that or the other. I mean, it's who do you guys favor more, Carson or Gurley in this matchup?
Carson.
I love them both. I mean, I just if I have any of these guys, if I have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson, either one of the quarterbacks, Todd Gurley, Julio, Calvin Ridley, or Hayden Hurst, I will start them all and not even worry about it. They're 100% of my lineup. No worries.
You think who do you think has the higher chance of being an RB1 between Gurley and Carson?
I think they both have a chance this week. But I think Chris Carson, just because you already know what that role looks like there. We don't know how Todd Gurley is going to be utilized
exactly.
yet.
Yeah.
The coaches have come out and said, they're expecting him to get the ball a lot. I think they said 18 to 25 touches a game, which is
15
great.
to 15 to 20, but it depends on how he's holding up. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both looking like fringe running back ones this week, and they're like kind of ranked in the running back 2, like 13, 14. They're going back to back. So yeah, we'll definitely see how that plays out, but it's going to be a fun one. Not as fun as this last game, though. Am I right?
This game actually ends up being a lot more competitive than most people think every year. But the Miami Dolphins at the new look New England Patriots. First time in a long time, we are seeing a new quarterback under center for the New England Patriots. Cam Newton has been named the starter. What are y'all's thoughts on this game? Do you think it's going to be as competitive as we've seen in years past, or do you think it's just going to be the blowout that everybody always expects with the Patriots versus Dolphins game?
No, I've learned to look forward to this matchup on a yearly basis now, because you've had the back and forth. I mean, I'll never forget the Miami comeback against Tom Brady and the Patriots, where was it Kenyon Drake ran that ball back all the way back for a touchdown to win the game? Yeah,
ridiculous.
I mean that was unbelievable. So ever since then, it's just been kind of like an interesting take for matchups. But yeah, I'm anxious to see how Belichick and Cam team up on the offensive side of the ball and see where that goes. I'm really interested to see how the connection is with Cam and Julian Edelman, and then with Miami. I mean, the magic.
Are you starting Edelman though? Are you going to start Edelman if you have him as like a wide receiver 3? Are you going to put him in the flex or?
Yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to put him in flex. I like Edelman. I think he's a grinder. I mean, he works really hard. He makes plays happen.
I'm a little worried about Devontae Parker. That's who I'm kind of. I know he did well against them last year, but I think Belichick's not going to let that happen again. Where are you guys at on Devontae Parker this week? Because I love the guy, but I think he's going to get Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, Stephon Gilmore was just a stud, arguably the best cornerback in the league. And I think he's just going to shut down Devontae Parker. So I am worried about that. But like Ashton said, Fitzpatrick is the wild card here. You know, sometimes he goes out and throws 400 plus yards, and sometimes he, disappears and absolutely does nothing. So they got a whole new running back committee. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. We'll have to see what they do with them. I think Preston Williams could be
that's who I'm thinking is the
value play here.
Yep.
Him and Gesicki could. I mean, they both could kind of pick up some volume.
Yeah, New England does have a really, really strong secondary. The one piece of that secondary that did opt out was Patrick Chung, who's the safety there. So we'll have to see how it shakes out. Last year, the New England defense was just absolutely shut down. They were the best defense in football. Dante Hightower and Patrick Chung have opted out, though, due to COVID concerns. So we'll have to see what that defense looks like this year. But for me, it's scary, man, this matchup. I'm worried about those Dolphins players. I don't really want to start any of them, but I do think Preston Williams is probably the value start here.
Yeah.
On the New England side of the ball, that backfield is kind of confusing because Sony
Michel
is going to be worked back into the rotation. We've already said that Damian Harris has been put into the injury. He'll be out for a few weeks. So you have James White. You have Rex Burkhead healthy now. So I don't know what's
going to be a mixed bag, like always.
Situation. Yeah. I think N'Keal Harry is going to have a bigger part of this offense this year. But remember, guys.
Thank you.
I think Cam's going to have the big week.
This Miami secondary is the highest paid secondary in the NFL. Don't forget that this is a very good secondary. They have Xavier Howard, who is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. And then they went out and got Byron Jones and paid him a lot of money too. So
it's just really easy to get to the secondary. So that's where you're going to be making up your points.
That's fair. All right, guys. That does it for kind of our first half of matchups. We went through a lot there. I am excited for these next two segments here. We're going to be talking starts of the week and sets of the week. We were talking a little bit before the show. We have a little bit of contradicting points of views on a couple players, but I'm really excited to hear what you guys got. We'll start with quarterback starts of the week. Ashton and Jacob, either one of you guys, feel free to jump in here and lead the way.
Jacob, you want me to take it or you? Go for it, buddy.
Okay, here I go. So for me, my QB start of the week, Jimmy G, facing off against the Cardinals. last year he finished as the number 2 and the number 3 QB against the Cardinals. I know they've done a little bit of work to that defense, but they have not done enough. Their offense is kind of their strong point. So I'm expecting Jimmy G, even with his limited cast of characters out there and the receiving core, he still got Kittle. That's pretty much all you need. Debo is allegedly going to be there. Kendrick Bourne is still an option. Raheem Mostert, they can kind of receive the ball a little bit. So I'm pretty pumped up about that. I think it's going to probably be a higher scoring game than most people are looking at, but I think Jimmy G is going to have the time of his life.
That's a good one because I think Jimmy G is a guy that you can maybe even find in the waivers. And if you have one of those quarterbacks with bad matchups, he could be a good play here. Ashton, what do you got?
Do you want to take a guess? Yeah. Well, you guys already know. It's Tom Brady. Tom Brady's my QB start of the week.
I can't believe
it. He's facing New Orleans. New Orleans has struggled in the past with passes through the middle. Tom Brady's favorite pass is through the middle. I'm expecting him to come out full-blown pass-heavy offense. Tom wants to show off his ability still. He's going to come out there. He's going to be chucking the ball left and right to Gronk and Godwin right through the middle. And I think it's going to be an all-day event, and I think they're going to crush New Orleans in the back. So look for Tom Brady to put up some heavy numbers.
Crush the Saints.
Crush.
That's a big take right there.
Yes, my friend.
That's a hot take.
Yep.
It's flaming hot.
I'm not as high on Brady as you are.
You never have been.
No one is.
That's fair. My quarterback start of the week, I kind of alluded to it earlier. Carson Wentz against the Washington football team. I think this is going to be just an absolute blowout, as I stated earlier. Expecting Djax to have a great game. Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz. I think Carson Wentz is just going to be balling out left and right. The two matchups they had last year, Carson Wentz put up 25 points and 21 points. So I think he's locked in as a QB1 this week. I'm happy to start him in one of my leagues that I have him in. Ashton, I know you're not as high up. You're so high up about this Washington front line of on their defense to get to Carson Wentz and him to be injury prone. But
Jacob, will you take that clip just so I can rub it in his face when Wentz gets destroyed on Sunday?
Fair enough.
Bets are welcome.
All right, running back starts of the week, guys. I'll lead it off. Someone we talked about a little bit earlier, who a couple of us already agreed that is just going to have a monster game. Josh Jacobs at the Carolina Panthers. We already said the Carolina Panthers rush defense is abysmal. They finished 29th last year in rush defense. And look, like the Raiders, as we said, have 2 rookie wide receivers and a second-year wide receiver as their starting options. They're going to rely on Josh Jacobs as that bell cow to just lead the way. I'm expecting him to get into the end zone multiple times this week, and could finish as a top 3 running back this week.
I like it. What do you got, Ashton?
All right. We talked about him earlier. Just with this matchup and how I kind of see the game rolling out, I'm going with Dalvin Cook. I know we talked about it potentially being a passing game, but I think that's going to lean towards the second half of the game. But I see Dalvin Cook getting a lot of touches in this game. I think Minnesota's going to rely on him a lot more than what they have in the passing option. So look for him to put up some high numbers, high volume, probably see the end zone at least 2 times, and then hopefully see some rollouts with some plays as well for the passing. So I'm leaning pretty heavy on Dalvin Cook this week.
Very nice. I like it. So I'm a little bit further down, but Austin Eckler, he's kind of in the middling RB1, RB2 range. I think he is going to go to town. They haven't really defined what's going on in that backfield, but the one constant is Austin Eckler. And when Austin Eckler started last year in his first 3 games, he was top 4, top 5. I mean, he was just laying it on him, and he's going against the Cincinnati Bengals, who had the 4th worst run defense last year. That is not good, folks. So I'm expecting him to catch passes, run the ball, get a couple. He might even get two touchdowns for you folks out there. So Austin Eckler, my running back start of the week.
Those are good, guys. What about wide receivers? Wide receiver start of the week. What do you guys got?
Take it. I'm going.
Okay. Take it.
Just be nice. I'm going Terry McLaurin. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hear me out. What are the other options?
That's fair. Someone's got to be good, right?
He's got to throw the ball somewhere. I mean, I really like Steven Sims this year. I think he's going to be a good opportunity. Wide out receiver for him. Antonio Golden Gates could be good. Antonio Gandy, what's his name?
Gandy Golden.
Yeah, Gandy Golden. I think he could be good as well. But he's unproven right now. I mean, there's an established trust with Haskins and Terry McLaurin. Plus Eagles had the fourth highest points allowed by an offense for receiving. So I'm looking towards that number to continue to rise with the. I was going to say the Redskins, but they're not the Redskins anymore. So
Washington football.
the Washington football team with Terry.
No
McLaurin.
problem.
So trust and Terry, you should trust this week.
Yeah, so I actually had Scary Terry as mine as well. So I'm going to pivot here.
Wow.
And I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs. I think it's going to be surprising. Yeah, so the secondary there is not great, okay? So I'm thinking he's gonna make his presence felt. I think he's going to catch a long bomb and a few other passes. And like I said, it's the Jets. So they've got a decent. I think they're more up front, but the secondary is a little kind of their weak spot. So you still got John Brown, you got Cole Beasley there to kind of maybe open it up for him, and I think they're really going to try to get him some targets, just kind of starting things off after they made the big move to get him.
Those are probably the two biggest surprises so far that I've heard. But mine is Juju Smith-Schuster going against the New York Giants. Look, I think Big Ben is used to Juju Smith-Schuster. You got Big Ben back and healthy. He's still got to get acquainted with Deontay Johnson, James Washington. So I expect a huge game from Juju Smith-Schuster to show that last year was a fluke and due to the quarterback situation there. So I expect him to just come out week one and just ball out, show his 2018 form all over again, be a target monster, and just dominate. And last but not least, in terms of starts of the week, tight end starts of the week. What do you guys got?
I've got a flyer for you guys.
Okay.
And it's kind of go right into kind of what you were just talking about. Big Ben, the return. Eric Ebron is made himself. He is the starting tight end for the Steelers now, and I'm just this game's going to be a freaking blowout. It's going to be amazing. Juju, he might eat. I don't know. I'm still worried about him. But Eric Ebron, he's going to be that red zone target. He's going to be eating it up, and I'm very excited about it. Big Ben was almost my stardom QB, so there you go.
I like that.
Stephen?
For me, I'm doubling down on my Carson Wentz start of the week, and I'm going actually Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert will be a stud in week one. Like we said earlier, a lot of these receiving options are injured. Alshon Jeffrey and Jalen Reagor. So that leaves you with Zach Ertz, Deshaun Jackson, and Dallas Goedert as your receiving options. I think they're going to key in on Zach Ertz. Obviously, he's a target machine. So I think, this is going to be one of those weeks where Dallas Goedert finds the end zone, and he's going to be a great play.
Maybe one time? 2 times? I think he's going to be in there 2 times? Maybe 3?
If it were up to me, it'd be twice since I have him on my team. But, I'm going to say Dallas Goedert will be a strong play this week and should find the end zone.
I got Darren Waller. I think go ahead.
I said I like it. I thought that was it. I got Darren Waller.
All right, on to the next.
That's it, guys. All right, let's move on to our sit-ems. That's it. I think he's just a main target, especially for the red zone for Derek Carr. I mean, it gets a struggling Carolina defense. Like you said earlier, Jacob, I think it's just going to be a struggle for them. So look for Darren Waller to be a top option for the red zone for Derek Carr.
You think he finds the end zone week one this year?
I do.
He only found the end zone
it 3 times last year.
in 2 games last year. So
he's going to start it hot. I like it.
Hopefully, this is how he starts the new year. All right, guys. A little bit of a sadder note, but what about the sits of the week? Who are you not looking forward to if you have them on your team? Quarterbacks first.
QBs first. Okay. Daniel Jones going against the Steel Curtain returned, playing the Steelers. He's on the other end of the game we're talking about, that blowout being where the Steelers are going to be dominating. Daniel Jones is going to struggle. Hopefully he's probably going to be fumbling all over the place just like he did last year. I think he'll find his footing later, but he's got a terrible opening schedule. So I'm not looking forward to him going against the Steelers. And just another note, the defense normally starts stronger than the offense kind of in the early going. And there was no preseason. So I think Daniel Jones, bad.
Daniel Jones, bad. Ashton, what do you got? Who's your sit of the week at quarterback?
Baker Mayfield. We kind of touched base on it earlier. It won't be the last time I touch base on the Browns before the night's over.
Oh boy.
I'm just a little hesitant with Baker going into it this year. I mean, especially week one. I need to wait and see. I need to see more from their offense before I can put any trust in them. Especially since going against the Ravens. Ravens had the fifth fewest yards allowed in the passing game last year. I'm looking for them to put high pressure on Baker, make it a big struggling game for him, and I'm just a little hesitant moving forward with Baker. I would not start Baker this week.
Fair enough. I heard some whispers that my start of the week was possibly going to be your sit of the week, and I was very disappointed with you with Carson Wentz.
He was on my board. I was ready to roll out with it.
Oh, man, that would have been disappointing.
We'll see. We'll see.
My sit of the week is Sam Darnold. We've already talked about it. That Buffalo defense is never one that you look forward to going against as a matchup, and not a great one for Sam Darnold. He didn't have the greatest rookie season last year, and then some of his big options, they went out and got Denzel Mims, the rookie wide receiver. He has been injured. Hasn't got a lot of time to gel with Sam Darnold. And then Chris Herndon, who a lot of people are expecting a breakout season from this year, has also been injured. So I am a little bit worried about those two. So we'll have to see how it shakes out. But I do not think Sam Darnold gets off to a strong start to start his sophomore campaign. What about running backs, guys? Who do you have for your sits of the week?
Hey, Jacob.
Hello.
Who of the Bucks said that their running back was going to be their feature back?
From the get-go?
Who was the man that they said was going to be their man to go to?
Ronald Jones.
Right. Do you believe that?
No.
Okay. Do you believe that they have a feature back?
No.
I don't either. That's why Leonard Fournette is my sit-em of the week for running back this week. I don't trust anything that they have planned going forward with the running back situation right now, and I don't think you should either. So I would be very hesitant with starting any running back for the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Fine.
Could he see the red zone? Probably. I mean, it's the Bucks; they're going to see the red zone a lot this year. But I'm worried about consistency and predictability, and I don't think you have that established with the Tampa Bay running back this year. So at least not right now.
Especially for this first week.
Especially for the first week. Yeah, you got to give it time. So moving forward, week one, I'd be very cautious.
Thank you for your caution. I will follow up with something it's going to be controversial, guys.
Okay, let's hear it.
And it's not so much a sit.
Is it
okay?
Christian McCaffrey? Not that controversial.
It's kind of controversial, but it's more of a tempering expectations for week
Zeke
one.
Elliott.
And it's Nick Chubb. I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier today. I think, like I said, I think he's going to take a kind of a backseat to not really a backseat, but he's just not going to get the volume that you're expecting just this week one against the Ravens. I think Kareem Hunt is going to be a lot more involved. And like I said, just a tempering of expectations. Don't sit Nick Chubb. I do not recommend it. He's just someone that I am not excited about this week.
Okay.
How do you put him as your sit-em, but then say don't sit him?
I had Leonard Fournette. Okay, I had to pivot.
All right. I actually have multiple running backs as my sit of the week, but not the way that you expect. But I actually have the entirety of the Lions running backs as my sits of the week. Do not start any of the Lions running backs. I don't care if you have Adrian Peterson.
But Adrian Peterson, he's the best of all time.
I don't care if you have Kerryon Johnson. I don't care
First
if you
ballot
have
Hall of Famer.
DeAndre Swift. I don't care who you got. I don't want any of them. I don't want any of them starting. This is a great Chicago defense that they're going to go against, and they're going to be just airing the ball out. It's going to be Kenny G. It's going to be Marvin Jones. But it's not going to be those running backs, so do not start them. They're not like Jacobs, where it's I'm not. Nick Chubb is still going to be in your lineup. These guys are not going to be in your lineup. Please do not put them in your lineup. All right, guys. What about wide receivers? Who is your wide receiver sit of the week?
I'll fly into this one. We already touched on it. It's Devontae Parker, man. I got a feeling he's just going to get completely shut down by Bill Belichick and Stephon Gilmore. And like we talked about, Preston Williams and kind of other options. I think they're gonna benefit from it. So I'm sorry. I have Devontae Parker in multiple leagues, and in some leagues you're gonna have to start him. Like you don't have a choice, okay? But if you do have that choice, make the right choice and sit Devontae Parker.
That's a good one. I'll jump in at number 2 here.
Okay.
We talked about him a little bit earlier. I told you he would be discussed later. Adam Thielen is my sit of the week. Look, I mean, he's old. He's coming off back surgery.
He's only 30.
He's coming off back surgery. He's going to be locked down by Jair Alexander. They're not going to rely on the passing offense this week. I think it's going to be just a Dalvin Cook show. I don't expect them to be pass heavy. And I think if they are, Adam Thielen is going to be who that Green Bay defense is, focusing on. They're going to want that rookie, Justin Jefferson, to show what he's got. But I don't think Adam Thielen is a great play this week. I'm scared for Adam Thielen. I don't want him to go out there and break his back.
Yeah.
I'm not playing Adam Thielen this week, even if I have him on my team. I'm not playing him.
Yep.
That's hard. He was drafted. I mean, he's drafted pretty high, Stefan.
I didn't draft him, so it wasn't drafted high for me.
Okay, fair enough.
Stefan's not gonna like my wide receiver pick, but it's we're going back to the Browns, and it's OBJ.
I don't care, man.
But
What you gonna do?
I'm not trusting in Baker this week. I'm not trusting in OBJ. Ravens defense, backfield, strong opponent this week for them. And like I said before, I have to see the connection with OBJ and Baker before I can start making him an option for a starter each week. I'm more inclined to put my trust into Jarvis Landry, especially if the hype on OBJ being a bounce back year for him is true, and these cornerbacks are going to potentially double up on OBJ. It's going to leave more opportunity for Jarvis Landry. I don't see it being a great week for OBJ.
Okay. All right, we got tight ends. Tight ends left.
Last up, tight ends sits of the week, week 1. What do you guys got?
I think I'm just anti-Brown. I'm right there with you, Ashton.
There's a lot of Browns in this.
I got Hooper on here, man. I know he's talented, but even let's say OBJ does have a decent week. I mean, it's just between OBJ, Jarvis Landry, Kareem Hunt, and Nick Chubb getting some receptions. I just think there's not going to be much for Hooper. That I don't know. I'm afraid of the Ravens, so obviously that's why I'm anti-Brown here. So Austin Hooper, I just don't think he's going to have the volume. I'm thinking he's going to probably put up like maybe 6-7 points or something like that. But I don't think he's going to get in the end zone.
Yeah, Browns are very vulnerable this week. I'm going with another Browns 2.0, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's been a lot of hype on Tyler Eifert coming onto the team this year and a good connection with Gardner Minshew, but it's unestablished and it's unproven. And Tyler Eifert has a history of massive injury. So
That is correct.
I'm just a little concerned with his performance going into it this season. I'm a wait and see kind of guy for him this year, and I don't trust his matchup going into it. So I'll give it time, but I'm not hyped on him right now. And a lot of people are taking him more than I predicted this year. So I don't know if that's the right choice. So wait and see Tyler Eifert.
Fair enough. And mine, the last set of the week, is Mike Gesicki, Miami Dolphins tight end against the New England Patriots at New England. Look, I know Dante Hightower has opted out. You probably see him match up a lot with Gesicki. But I just don't know this. Like we said, this New England secondary is very, very good. And I just don't think they're going to be able to get it going in the Miami end. And what really came as a concern for me is that Gesicki isn't even listed as their number one tight end right now on the depth chart. Some random guy I've never heard of, Durham Smythe, is actually the number one tight end on the Miami Dolphins as of today. So look, I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's just, some
That's fake
intern,
news, man. That's fake news.
some intern filling out the depth chart, but Mike Gesicki is not going to start for me this week, and I do not suggest he start for you either. But that wraps it up for our first show of the NFL
one.
regular season. We will be back with you later this week for the second half of matchups and some ins and outs and some great segments for you. If you do have any stardom sit-em questions for your lineup, please feel free to send them in, and we will try to address them on the show. But other than that, guys, it's been fun. Good night.
Yes, sir. Goodbye.